We begin the current Daf Masechta Shabbos Daf Lamed Hey. We begin on the second line down at the top of the Amud, where our shiur is co-sponsored by Kalzich and Yecheskel, Torah Anytime, Daf Chaim. We thank everybody for joining us on Zoom. We appreciate all those who check in and let us know that you're here. Some ideas we're going to speak about in today's Daf is how large of a vessel is no longer considered a kli, because it's not a vessel anymore. It's already considered something as a permanent thing. It loses status of kli, as we'll learn about regarding the laws of Shabbos, that it would be considered as muktzah. Additionally, some ideas we're going to speak about is continuation from the previous stuff regarding bein hashmashes. As you can see from the picture, we discussed kolzman shepenei mizrach madimin, regarding as long as the eastern front is red. So that's what we're going to qualify. Where is it actually that it's becoming red? Is it on the eastern front or is it on the western front? And when is it night? Based on the number of stars, because there's a few different signs and definitions of when it's nighttime. And the Gemara is going to discuss how we know that it's not twilight anymore, that we know it's already nighttime, based on the number of stars. And finally, the custom of blowing the shofar to announce the prayer of Shabbos, regarding that routine that they used to have in the Talmudic times of blowing the shofar to announce the Shabbos. So we begin the current Daf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph, second line at the top of the Amud, where we're in the middle of a discussion, where it starts a new discussion, but it's in the middle of the discussion. A little complicating chart. But we had from the previous Daf, Machlekes Rabbah and Rav Yosef, regarding defining the halachic opinion of Rabbi Huda in the Brisa, when there was three different opinions regarding what's bein hashmashes. He said bein hashmashes from shkia sachama, and then he said two definitions, and there was a machlekes regarding what did he mean. Basically, the machlekes Rabbah and Rav Yosef was regarding the time of mishatishka chama kozman shepenei mizrach madimin. Is this time considered as bein hashmashes, which Rabbah said that bein hashmashes is 3/4 of a mil, and that's because he includes that in the definition of kol shman shepenei mizrach madimin as bein hashmashes, with also hissa b'tachton hissa b'elyon. If the lower part gets black of the horizon, not the upper part, these are all three. These three are all bein hashmashes. This is day when it has not the sun is not set. But from when it's set and it's red and the lower part is black, these are all bein hashmashes. When the upper part is dark and the lower one, then it's all nighttime. Rabbi Yosef said a smaller measurement. He says no. He interpreted that it's not a contradiction. He says when it says mishatishka chama kozman shepenei mizrach madimin, that's still daytime. Bein hashmashes is only hichsa b'tachton or hichsa b'elyon. That's bein hashmashes, then you have nighttime. So hence, his bein hashmashes is a shorter span of time than that of Rabbah. It's only 2/3 of a mil. So essentially, if you want to keep it simple, think of, because we're all parts of a mil, that is, Rabbah is 3 parts, and Rav Yosef is 2 parts. So he's 3 and he's 2. So in regards to the measurement of bein hashmashes, Rabbah is a larger measurement than Rav Yosef. Now that's where our Gemara continues. It says, v'chilufa, and the opposite, totally different halacha. But it's just in regards to the same Amiram, disagreeing regarding numbers and measurements, and the exact opposite is true regarding the machlekes Rabbah and Rav Yosef, bechalsa by a basket. Meaning, like we said over there, the measurement of Rav Yosef was meaning in the previous machlekes Rabbah was more, and this machlekes Rav Yosef's number is more than Rabbah. Because Rabbah, who said previously that it's 3/4, here he says that it's 2. Rav Yosef that said in the previous machlekes it's 2 parts, here he says the number is 3. Dama Rabbah, what's this machlekes? What are we talking about over here that regarding numbers? So chalsa bas trei kuri, a basket that contains 2 kur. Kur is a measurement. So shari l'taltula. So you're permitted to carry it because it has the halachic status as a vessel. It's a small thing. But a bas tlasa kuri, but if it carries 3 kur, it's already a pretty large basket to hold 3 kur, also l'taltula. It's forbidden to move it because it's way too big. It's not considered as a kli anymore, and therefore it's considered muktzah. You don't move a fridge. It's something that's makatz medaita. You don't intend to usually move it. It's something that's generally not utilized. It's not moved. So too, something such a big container, you don't usually move it. So what's the number? So Rabbah says the number is going to be 3 kur. But for Rav Yosef, he says, Bas tlasa kuri nami shari. He says, no, even 3 kur is permitted to move. Bas arba kuri aser. But if it's 4 kur, then it's forbidden to be moved. So again, here we have the opposite opinions. We have Rabba who's saying that 2 is permitted to be moved, 3 is forbidden. Rav Yosef is saying 3 is permitted to be moved and 4 is usher. So whereas by Ben Hashmashas he said the greater number, he said the smaller number. Here Rav Yosef is saying the bigger number, and Rabba is saying the smaller number. So again, that's what the Gemara is pointing out regarding their machlokes. So the Gemara continues and says, Omar Abaye. Abaye says, Boibnei Demar says, I had asked of the master, which was of Rabba, B'shas Maisa, in practical, when I needed to know, it was Shabbos, I needed to know, could I move something? So although Rabba was previously quoted saying that, okay, 2 you can move and 3 you can't, but in practice, when I came to ask the rabbi what to do, even 2 kur, a container that was big to hold 2 kur, he didn't even let me move that. He said it wasn't a kli, which actually Teza points out, which halach lamaisa, we don't follow like this ruling that a kli could be nullified because of its heaviness. It does not become muktzah, no matter how heavy it is, it's still considered kli. But he says in practice, he didn't even let me move a kli that's 2 kur. Says the Gemara, come on, who was Rabba going like, that even if it contains 2 kur, he didn't let him move it. Says the Gemara Kaitan is like the following Tan. The Tan like learn the Mishnah Masechtas Kalim, and it's also brought in Masechtas Always. The following halacha: Kaveres hakash, a basket made out of straw. Bikaveres hakonim, a basket made out of reeds. Ubar Sfin Alexandris, and also the pit, the cistern of the Alexandrian ships, which were very large ships that they would go out to the great seas, and since they went out for such a long time, the sea waters are very salty. So they would make this large pit, this large vessel essentially, like a pit, in the boat, and they would put in good tasting waters. Now, says the Mishnah, Ava bish yeshlem shalayim, so although they have bottoms, it's a container because it has a bottom, so it's a kli, but the heimachzik is mem sa balach, since it contains 40 sa of liquid. Now, the reason why we're pointing out of liquid is because liquid doesn't have any what's called heap. It doesn't. You can't have a top of it. It overflows obviously once it gets over the top of the vessel. So it contains 40 sa of liquid, shein kurayim, which that's 2 kur, which is 60 sa. So although 40 sa of liquid could fit inside a vessel, you could have 60 sa of solids, which this is the point we're bringing out. This is like Rabbah. It's 2 kur, and you're going to see that we're considering this kli as muktzah. It's not a kli anymore because it's so big. That's exactly like Rabbah said, that 2 kur even. It's going like this Tana. Biyavish by solids, which because the solids you could stack up on top of a vessel over the walls of the vessel. That's called the goydish, the heap. That contains, as the Gemara is going to shortly explain, a third more. And that Rashi points out was according to their vessels, which they would make it like it's a yam sha'asa shleima, like a Gemara elsewhere talks about, and we find this pasuk in Malachim, that the height of the vessel was like half of the width, and they're round, and based on those dimensions, you can have that the heap that could be put on the top is going to be a third of what is inside. So if you're going to have 40 inside, which is what the liquid could be, you can have a third more on the top of the heap, which is what you could have with solids. You obviously cannot heap up liquids, so what you could have inside liquids of 40 sa, you could have for a total of dry stuff in 60 sa. So such a vessel is going to be tahirim. It's tahar. It's not tummy as a kli. Why? Because the pasuk equates, in the pasuk when it talks about the tumah of a vessel, it compares wooden vessels to sackcloth. Now, just like a sackcloth is meant to be moved when it's full and when it's empty, now this cannot be moved when it's full because it's too big. If you're going to move it, you're going to break it. It's too big. So therefore, who is Rabbah going like when he said that a kli that contains 2 kur, which is kurayim, which are the 60 sa, that it's going to be tahar, that's not a kli. That in our context, we're saying that it's muktzah and Shabbos, you can't move it. Who's going like this Tana that we find in the Mishnah, in Masechtas Kalim, and therefore in practice he told Abaye, even if it's just 2 kur, you can't move it because he restricts like that opinion. Now, parenthetically, Abaye, he says, Shema Mino, but one thing we see from this Mishnah is Hai Gudsha, the heap that you have on top of a vessel, till sahava, it adds a third more. Therefore, when you have 40 sa of liquid inside, you can have a total of a solid of 60. Why? Because you could heap up on the top, which is going to be a third of what's inside. Now, the Gemara brings a story related to the previous Gemara's discussion from the previous Daf. We had said that what's considered, as we mentioned, the bein hashmashas. We said Rabbah had said 3/4 for Rabbi Yehuda. 3/4 of a mil is bein hashmashas. When does it start? It starts the way the sun works. The sun rises in the east, and then it sets in the west. So this is when the sun is starting, when the sun just set, when it just went over the horizon. So then that's on the western horizon. Then on the eastern horizon, the way it works is, first it's going to be, as we said, Pnei Mizrach Madimin. The eastern front is going to be a little bit red. Then as it gets a little bit darker, the sun that you see is rising, is setting a little bit more. Then it gets black, it sets even a little bit more, then even the upper part gets dark. Those are the three phases we spoke about in the previous daf. Pnei Mizrach Madimin, Hichsif HaTachtoin, the bottom is dark, the sun sets even a little more, Hichsif Ve'elyon. So related to that halacha, the Gemara brings that Abaye Chazi l'Rabba. So Abaye saw Rabba, the Kodavi, that he was looking Erev Shabbos to see if the sun was making a red mark on the horizon. He was looking l'Mayriv, to the west. So Amalei, so he said to him, but Vatanya learned the Brisa that we mentioned in the previous daf says Kol Zman Shepnei Mizrach Madimin. We said as long as the eastern front is red in the evening time, because the sun sets in the west, but the residual rays, what's called Zeruri Chama, they redden the eastern front like a window, as the Gemara shortly is going to explain. So like the sun comes through and it reddens the wall on the opposite sides, although it's where the window is, but where do you see the red? It's through the window on the opposite wall. So therefore he was saying, why are you looking on the western front? But the Brisa says the red's going to be on the eastern front. So Amalei said to him, Misav, do you think Pnei Mizrach Mamash? You really think that where is it really reddening? It's on the eastern side? Loi. Panim Hamadimim es Mizrach. It's the face that's reddening the eastern part. Therefore, the primary is, like we said, on the western part. And therefore, I'm looking at the west because that's really where the sun is setting. Yes, you see the residual part on the east, but that's not really the part that's getting red. He said, I'm looking to see of the sun itself, do I see some redness on the west? Because that's actually where the sun is. The Gemara was just saying, the Brisa was telling us that it reddens the eastern side. That's one version. Ikidami, that those that say a different version, that Rabba Chazila Abaya. Rabba saw Abaya, so it's Rabba seeing Abaya, the Kodavi Lemizrach, that he was looking to the east, which as we said in the first version, he thought it really literally meant the east. On that Amalei said to me, do you really think to say that it's what's getting red is the eastern front? No, Panim Hamadinim as the Mizrach. It's the face that's reddening the east, which really means to say the west, and therefore it doesn't really mean the east. It really means the west. V'semonech, and the sign for this is the kapsa, is the window. Like we explained before, that you'll see the residual on the eastern side, which the horizon is going to look red. But if you really want to see where the sun is, its status is regarding setting, it's on the eastern front. And therefore, he was looking, he said, it's not really, don't look on the east, it's really on the west. Now, the Gemara continues, we said in the previous daf, the Brisa, we said, there was three opinions we mentioned. We mentioned Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemya, and Rabbi Yesi. The three opinions for Ben Hashmashas, Rabbi Yehuda was the largest shiur. We had a machlekes amaram in that shiur of when the sun sets up until Hichsef Ha'elyon, till the upper part of the horizon becomes dark. Either it's 2/3 of a mil or 3/4 of a mil. Then the second opinion, Rabbi Nechemya, he says, he holds Ben Hashmashas is smaller. Says from when the sun sets and the person is going to walk a half a mil, that's going to be the period of Ben Hashmashas. So remember, Chanina says, if someone wants to know the measurement, the time span of the Ben Hashmashas of Nechemya, how much is a half a mil? He should leave when the sun is still there on the top of Mount Carmel, which is a mountain by the edge of the sea, and the sun, right when it's about to set, could be seen on the top of mountains. So if you see it right before it sets on the top of the mountain, and the amount of time that he should come down from the top of the mountain, immerse himself in the sea, v'yala, and go back up to the mountain, that, and some say, as Tais discusses regarding the shiur of eating truma, so you could be a kohen that's tameh, and you see the sun about to set, you go down, and then you come up, v'zehu shiur shel Nechemya, that's going to be the measurement of Reb Nechemya, which Rashi makes it sound like then it's already going to be nighttime. And that's going to be the period of Ben Hashmashas, amount of time, if you see the sun about to set, and then you go down, you immerse, and you come back up. By the time you back up, that's exactly the amount of time of a half a mil. That's the time of the Ben Hashmashas of Nechemya. Now, similar concept of being on the top of Mount Carmel. Amar B'chia says a reit liris be'erish Miriam. Someone wants to see the famous well of Miriam. Yala l'reish Carmel. He should go to the top of Mount Carmel. The yitzpeh, he should look out. The yirakimin kavar b'yam. He's going to see like a sieve in the sea, which it's really a rock that's round, that was made like a shape of a sieve, which is a type of a sifter. The Zuhi Be'er Shel Miriam, that is the famous well of Miriam, which went around with the Jewish people in the Midbar, which was the rock that Moshe Rabbeinu hit, which was all in the merit of Miriam, like the pasuk says in Mehmed B'chav. But Tamash Miriam, it says Miriam died over there. What does it say right there? The Jewish people didn't have any water. Why not? Because the water was all coming in the merit of Miriam. So that's what they say, that it's, you could look out from Mount Carmel and you could see there in the Kinneret. They say you could look down and you could see the well of Miriam. Now, related to that, Amar Rabbi says, Mayin HaMetaltal, a moving well, tahar is tahar from becoming tummy, and also you could immerse things inside that well, because it's not like a vessel to make that the water that flows from it is like drawn water, because although it's a movable thing, but it's still a well. Now, says the Gemara, V'zehu, when you don't have a movable well, which a movable spring, which is really an impossibility, the only one that you had was Be'er Shel Miriam, the well of Miriam, which was a spring that was movable, that was in the rock, that was moving around. So although it was movable, you might say that it's a kli, and therefore it's Mayim Shuvim. On that says the Gemara, no, it wasn't Mayim Shuvim, because it was a spring, even though it was movable. Now, going back to the previous stuff, we had this discussion about the Machlekes Tanoim, what's been Hashmashas, as we just mentioned before. So related to that Machlekes, the Gemara introduces the following halacha. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mishmol says, Bein Hashmashas the Rabbi Yehuda, the Bein Hashmashas of Rabbi Yehuda, which again, as we pointed out in the previous stuff, Bein Hashmashas of Rabbi Yehuda is when the sun sets, going through it, when the eastern horizon is red, which we just qualified as really is the west, that's the sun is setting over here in the west, but again, it's the eastern horizon being red. Then the bottom part is starting to get black, and then it's yet not black over here. Once it becomes black on the upper part, then the whole night, it's already fully night. But this is all Bein Hashmashas according to Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda Mishmul, in that time span of Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas, Kahanim Tevim B'lei, Kahan could immerse themselves in that time period. Now, what's difficult is that, and this is what we're coming to explain, even though Kahanim need what's called Herb Shemesh, means to say they have to immerse themselves, and only after they go to the mikvah does the sun have to set for them to be able to eat Truma, which was the first Mishnah in the whole Shaz. So still this opinion holds that it's daytime. And therefore there's time after Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas to have Shkiyas Achama. So therefore Kahanim are allowed to immerse themselves in this time period. On that asks the Gemara, Laman, who are you going like? Ilam Rabbi Yehuda, if you'd be passing and ruling like Rabbi Yehuda, so then Sveika Hava, to the contrary, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's a time period of doubt. If you're calling it Bein Hashmashas, obviously because you consider that whole time period as a situation of doubt, so how could you say that he could table himself during this time period, but maybe it's at nighttime? That's what Bein Hashmashas is. It's a doubtful time period, as we explained in the previous time. And therefore you're not going to have the hair of Shemesh, the sun setting, because the sun already set, it's already nighttime. So it says the Gemara, no, you're right, that Ela Bein Hashmashas Rabbi Yehuda, what we mean to say is, Rabbi Yehuda is Bein Hashmashas. Le Rabbi Yosi, who Rabbi Yosi holds that Bein Hashmashas is Keharif Ayin, like the blink of an eye, so he doesn't hold of this whole extended time period of Bein Hashmashas. No, this is all daytime. Harav Shemesh happens a moment, Bein Hashmashas, this doubtful time period is happening a moment before nighttime. We're saying, according to him, Kahan table by. So in this time period, Rabbi Yehuda, the Kahan could table then. Says the Gemara, then Pshita. Well, that's an obvious halacha that according to Rabbi Yosi, Kahan could table during Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas, because like we said, according to Rabbi Yosi, the whole doubt is only like the blink of an eye, and whatever's before that is literally daytime, because we know that the measurement of Rabbi Yehuda is way more, and his sun setting is before, but Rabbi Yosi is later. So what's the chiddush? Of course we know that. Says Gemara, no, where would you say Bein Hashmashas Rabbi Yosi? Rabbi Yosi's Bein Hashmashas, which is in the blink of an eye. Meishach Shek Rabbi Yehuda, it is part of Rabbi Yehuda's, meaning it's included in the end of Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas. So when Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas ends, it's nighttime even according to Rabbi Yosi, because although he holds it's the blink of an eye, but it's a blink of an eye over here. So therefore, if you would immerse yourself as a kohen at the end of Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas, so then you wouldn't have any more Harab Shemesh. That's Kamash Malon. That's Rabbi Yehuda Mishmul is coming to tell us that no, the whole Bein Hashmashas of Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yosi, is daytime, and it's valid to table even all the way over here at the end. Because the Shalom Bein Hashmashas Rabbi Yehuda first, Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas finishes, as we have here in the picture. V'hada Mascha Bein Hashmashas Rabbi Yosi, and only subsequently does Rabbi Yosi's Bein Hashmashas start, and then you have Harav Shemesh, and then it's nighttime. So that's what we're coming to say, that the whole thing, not even over here, all the way to the end of Rabbi Yehuda's Bein Hashmashas, where Rabbi Yehuda holds is nighttime, no. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's not even nighttime over here. You first have, according to Rabbi Yossi, the blink of an eye after that, and then it's going to be nighttime, and that's the chiddush Rabbi Yehuda Mishmol's teaching. Now, but in halachic practice, the Gemara brings as follows. Amar Rabbi Bochanan Rabbi Yechanan. It says, halachas Rabbi Yehuda, the halacha follows like Rabbi Yehuda, the most stringent bein hashmashes, which is how we rule, le'inyan Shabbos, regarding Shabbos. The halacha Rabbi Yossi, and the halacha like Rabbi Yossi, that's the blink of an eye, which means to say that it's a later bein hashmashes, is le'inyan Truma, is regarding the laws of Truma. Now, the Gemara wonders, from the fact that Rabbi Yechanan says halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda for this, and halacha is like Rabbi Yossi for this, obviously, he's in doubt, because that's why he's saying, according to either one, we're going to say stringently. So if he's saying stringently, we have the following question. Bishleima, we understand that when he says halacha is Rabbi Yehuda l'inyan Shabbos, that halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda regarding the laws of Shabbos, I could understand that he's saying lo chumra. In other words, you could say that it's going to be an earlier bein hashmashes. You're going to say we have to suspect that nighttime started earlier as a stringency. When? What's the classic time that everyone's, shkia bein hashmashes? That's an Erev Shabbos. Where a person doing malacha in this time period, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's daytime. He didn't do anything. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, you have to bring Hashem Talei. So that's what we would understand, that you have to be stringent. Whereas, as Rashi says, let's say regarding Matzah Shabbos, we're obviously not going to do like Rabbi Yehuda and say that, nighttime is earlier. No. But when are we going to be machmer like him? It's on Erev Shabbos to say that Shabbos maybe is starting 13 and a half minutes earlier than that of Rabbi Yossi. So that's what we could understand, and that's a stringent regarding the laws of Shabbos. In your Truma, but this that you tell me that halacha is like Rabbi Yossi regarding Truma, Mahi. What is that? Because what's the halacha we just said before regarding Truma? If you think they say that's regarding immersing in the mikvah, that he's coming, Rabbi Yechanan is coming to tell us that Kahanim could taivel in the bein hashmashes of Rabbi Yehuda, and that's what you're saying halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, because according to Rabbi Yossi it's still daytime. But you just told me according to Rabbi Yechanan, the time according to Rabbi Yehuda, who is not sure who the halacha is like, it's sveikahi. It's a doubtful time. It might be nighttime. From the fact that we see that regarding the laws of Shabbos, that he was stringent regarding him, that he said that maybe it's nighttime. So how can you say for the taiveling of Truma, that then you're going to say like Rabbi Yossi that you could taivel in this time period because Rabbi Yossi holds only nighttime later, but you're saying maybe this is really nighttime, as we find by Shabbos. So if it's nighttime, so how could you taivel at this time period? It might be past Harav Shemesh, past sunset, and you have to taivel beforehand. So the Gemara explains as we continue to Medbeis, no, it's not regarding the tevila for Truma, ela rather la'achilas Truma. It's regarding the eating of Truma. And as the Gemara explains, that the whole halacha of Rabbi Yechanan is a stringency. What's the stringency? Meaning, don't say that when Rabbi Yehuda's bein hashmashes finishes off, it's nighttime and then you could eat, because like we see by Shabbos, he holds Rabbi Yehuda's stringent interpretation of bein hashmashes, but that becomes leniency regarding the eating of truma, that okay, once this is passed, it's already nighttime. No, that's what he's saying, and of course the same thing would be regarding Matzah Shabbos. We would say that okay, now you could do a malacha. No, says the Gemara, we have to be concerned for Rabbi Yossi's halacha, that it's still not nighttime. So let's say Matzah Shabbos, you would not be able to do a malacha. And also regarding the eating of truma. The loyach likan truma, the kan cannot eat truma ad the shlim bein hashmashes Rabbi Yossi until you finish the bein hashmashes of Rabbi Yossi. So therefore, yes, he's going stringently both ways. On the one hand, we have to be concerned that maybe it is night, according to Rabbi Yehuda, which starts much earlier. But on the other hand, we have to be concerned maybe it's not night. So you could look at it as Erev Shabbos, Matzah Shabbos. Tais discusses why we qualify it as Shabbos and Truma. But be that as it may, either one, for Shabbos we have to be machmer that on Erev Shabbos like Rabbi Yehuda, that maybe it's nighttime much earlier. And according to Matzah Shabbos or eating of Truma, which you have to wait till it's definite nighttime, then we're machmer like Rabbi Yossi that no, even here it's still going to be maybe daytime, and you have to wait till after that Keharif Ayin, which Tais discusses why would we be so busy with a Keharif, a blink of an eye, adding on to that measurement. Tais discusses it might be more than what we think it is, but the point is that still a later Zman, and therefore that's why he was machmer like either one of those opinions. Now, the Gemara continues regarding this halacha of nighttime. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, another teaching of Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, he says, Kaichev echad, if there's one star out in the sky, then it's yom, it's daytime. Shnaim, if there's two stars, it's bein hashmashes, it's twilight. Shleish, if there's three stars out, then it's Laila, then it's nighttime. And Tanimach is similar in the Brisa, it says the same thing. Koichev echad, one star is yom, is daytime. Shnaim, two stars is bein hashmashes, is twilight. Shleish, three stars is Laila, it's nighttime. Now, Amar B'Yisi, and this is a very important qualification, which is the halacha l'maisa, but actually we're stringent a little bit more. Rabbi Yossi says like this, says, like Chavim, we're not talking about that there's large stars that you could even see during the daytime. That's not going to be considered nighttime, even if there's 3 stars. Neither are we talking about small stars, which are only visible at nighttime. Ella, rather, what are we talking about in this halacha? We're talking about beinanim. We're talking about medium-sized stars. So if you see 3 medium-sized stars, that is going to tell you that it's nighttime. Now, in practice, we're stringent because not everyone can be able to discern, so we actually hold that you have to wait for 3 small-sized stars. But in basic halacha, it really is 3 medium-sized stars. That's going to tell you that it's already considered nighttime for whatever the halachic purpose is that it's nighttime. Now, the Gemara just points out something interesting, that even though Ben Hashmashas is a time period of suffix, of doubt, but Rabbi Yossi Bazvidi says, if someone does a malacha by 2 Ben Hashmashas, meaning, if let's say, Erev Shabbos and Matzah Shabbos in one lapse of awareness, because that's important to make it into one possible carbon. So on that says the Gemara, you're not going to be chayv an Asham Tali. What do you mean? Ben Hashmashas is a doubtful time period. We don't know, is it daytime, is it nighttime, is it daytime and nighttime? So let's say Friday, only by Ben Hashmashas, not at nighttime, but by the whole Ben Hashmashas period, someone did a malacha. He did that on Friday night, meaning by the Ben Hashmashas, and by Matzah Shabbos. Then says the Gemara, chayiv chatas memanavshach. He's going to be liable for a karma chatas, meaning the difference between asham tali. Asham tali is when you're not sure if you did an aver. Chatas is when you know you did an aver, but you did it by mistake. So either way you're going to look at this, he's going to be chayiv a karma chatas, because if Ben Hashmashas is nighttime, so then he's chayiv for what he did on Erev Shabbos by Ben Hashmashas. But Matzah Shabbos wasn't anything because it was already nighttime. If Ben Hashmashas is daytime, he's going to be chayiv for the Matzah Shabbos one, but the one on Erev Shabbos didn't do anything because it was daytime. And as Rashi explains, it's like you're talking about that he did the malacha the whole Ben Hashmashas, which you cannot be in doubt and say, wait a second, maybe by Erev Shabbos the Ben Hashmashas with the first part was daytime, and maybe Matzah Shabbos the last part was at nighttime. No, he did the whole Ben Hashmashas. So either way you look at it, he's going to be chayav b'kar mechatzos. Now, related to this idea of Ben Hashmashas, Amalei Rabba L'Shamai, Rabba said to his attendant, says, Atu dulei kimluchu b'shiyur d'Rabbanan. This is also the halacha l'maisa. You who you don't know the measurements of the rabbis to exactly know when's Ben Hashmashas. At the Shimsha, Arishtikli, when the sun is on top of the palm trees, Itlu Shraga, go ahead and light the candle when it's still daytime, and that's the custom we have. We have candle lighting time. It's 18 minutes before. There's different measurements, but when it's clearly visible, because we don't know exactly when is Ben Hashmashas, when's nighttime, so you want to light it early enough. Now, says the Gemara, and what do you do on a cloudy day where you can't see when the sun is on top of the palm trees? So it says the Gemara, B'masa in the city, Chazitar Negayla, look at the rooster who sits on the walls when it's still daytime, and therefore if it's not on the wall anymore, you know it's starting to be nighttime. But Dabra in the fields, or if you look at the ravens who also sits in the fields when it's still daytime. Or Inami, or another thing you could look at is Adoni, which is a herb that its leaves lean towards the sun. So in the morning time, its leaves lean towards the east. In the middle of the day, it's straight up. And by the nighttime, it starts bending towards the west. So you can see it's starting to plop down on the west. You know it's already getting nighttime, and you better light the Shabbos candles and get ready for Shabbos. Now, there was a custom in Talmudic times to blow the shofar to announce the approach of Shabbos. Some towns still have this with the air raid sirens, a little different. But this custom was to notify people that Shabbos is coming. So tell me, learn the Brisa. Sheish Taki is taken Erev Shabbos. There was these 6 blasts they would make on Erev Shabbos, and Rashi just points out that the Trua, although it's a different type of a blast, was included in this order of the 6 blasts, because there's really 2 sets of Tkiya, Trua, Tekiya. So do that 2 times, that's going to be 6 blasts. Now, what were these 6 blasts? So Rishayna, the first blast was Lahavta Sa'ama Malacha Shabasadis, to stop the people doing the work out in the fields, that they should have time to come into the city. It takes them longer. So the first blast was to tell the people out in the fields to stop doing their work. Shni, the second blast, was Lahavtul Ir, to stop the people in the city from doing work, and V'chanuyas, and the shops from doing business. That was the second blast. Shlish is the third blast. That's not someone in jail, that's just closing up the store. Shlish is the third blast, was Lahadlik Hasaner, that was to tell you to light the Shabbos candles, that's the Brim Nasan. B'Yehuda Nosim, he gives a different interpretation. Shlish is the third blast, was Lachlitz Tfilin, was to take up the tefillin, and he holds that the lighting of the Shabbos candles was by the 4th blast. Now, after the 3rd blast, then B'Shaya, then the one who made the blast would stop. The amount of time that someone could roast a small fish, or enough time to put a bread on the oven wall, and there's still going to be enough time that the surface of the bread should crust. And the reason is they want people to have enough time to do that last second malacha. But the thing is that they would blow the shofar early. And the reason why they would do that was what's called lahaisim mechal al kodesh. There's a halacha that's called teisa Shabbos. You want to add on to Shabbos, so they would blow earlier. But technically, you still have enough time to put this bread on that it's going to bake and it's going to crust, which is a halacha we mentioned on the previous daf. You can't put on bread the moment Shabbos is starting. It has to be enough time that the outside could crust. So they would wait the amount of time that you could put on this bread that it's going to crust, and then v'teikeya maria v'teikeya. Then they would blow, they would do a teruah, and then they would do a tekiya. Tekiya is that straight blast, teruah is do, and then they would blow the straight one, that's 6 blasts, and then b'shabbos, and then Shabbos would take effect on the whole town. Now, Amar B'Shloimy says, Manas Lam L'Bavlim, it says, what should we do for the Babylonians? Should take in the marine, what they do is they blow the tekiah, and they blow the teruah, b'shavs to matech marine, and then they make it Shabbos from the teruah. So the Gemara wonders, how could they even do that? Taking the marine, what you're saying that after the first 3, then they did a tekiah and a teruah, but Habalu Chamisha, then there's only 5 blasts, and we said that it has to have 6 blasts. Rather, no, says the Gemara, that what they did was shetaken b'chayzim ataken. But they would do the tekiah, and for number 5, they would do also a tekiah. And then Marie, and then for the 6th one, they would do a trua. B'shavs to matech Marie, and then they would stop Ol Malacha and start Shabbos from the trua, which is not the order that it's supposed to be. But minig abasem b'yedem, that's a custom from their fathers in their hands. They would do tekiah, and then trua. But again, the real order is supposed to be tekiah, trua, and then a tekiah. Now, Masla Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yitzchak Berei, he taught him that when he was talking about this halacha of Erev Shabbos, he told them that the shniya, the second blast, was lahadlikas aner. That was to light the candle. Says the Gemara, come on, who is he going like when he says the second blast was to light the candle? Like Reb Nosson, not like Reb Nosson who said it's by the 3rd blast. Like Reb Nosson who actually says by the 4th blast. And rather the Gemara amends his teaching. No, he was telling his son Shlish is lahadlikas aner. The 3rd one was to light the candle. Says the Gemara, come on, who's that like? That's Reb Nosson who he said he holds the 3rd one is to light the candles. Now, Tan Rabbi Shmuel, continuing again somewhat of a repetition of this halacha, he says Sheish Tekiyas taken Erev Shabbos. There were 6 blasts that were blown in Erev Shabbos. He just elaborates a little bit more. He says, when they started to make the first blast, so those who were standing in the field, they stopped. Mileder from digging, or malachos from plowing, or from doing all types of work in the field. Now, but the Brisa importantly qualifies. Those who are closer are not allowed to come into the town until the people way deep into the fields are coming in. That they should all come into the town together. Because we don't want people to suspect the ones who came in later to say, they heard the blast, they continue doing the work after the shofar blast had done, because not everyone recognizes who's closer from the fields and who's the further out in the fields. So not to suspect the ones who later out. Why is he coming 5 minutes later? Okay, he doesn't care so much about this halacha. No, they wait till everyone comes in together. Now, but after the first blast, but the stores were still open. Vitrisen, which are the shutters of the stores, what they would do is they would remove it from the windows, and the menachem, they would place it on pegs, and they would sell stuff on it, spices and other things. Now, at evening time would come, they would put the shutter, which they had made like some type of mock table, they would put it back on the opening of the store. The shutters were still out in the open, and they were still selling stuff in the town. Now, but when they started blowing the second blast, the stalka trees, and they took away the shutters, meaning from being as a table, and they locked up the stores. So that's after the second blast, like that's what the locking over here is. Now, but vadayin chamen, but there was still hot water that people would make so that they could dilute their wine on Shabbos, which they would do in Talmudic times, was still munachan agabekir, it was still on the stovetop, the kederis munachas agabekir, and the pots were still on top of the stovetop. Now, hiskal kayet kir shlish, once they started blowing the 3rd blast, so silik hamasalik, the one who was going to remove his pot, which was made to remove because he's going to eat it right then at Friday night, he would remove his pot then, the hitman hamatman, and now whatever was not being eaten yet, because they were eating it for tomorrow, then they would insulate their pot, which as we learned in the previous stuff, that you could insulate, but if it doesn't increase heat, if it's still before Shabbos. So they would do this now, and the hitlik hamalik, and the one who would light the candle, would do this all now by the 3rd blast. Now, as we mentioned, the shoy kadei tzliz got dakat, and then they would wait the amount of time that someone could roast a small fish, or the amount of time that it takes to attach a dough to the oven. And once they gave that small window of opportunity for people, then they would blow, blast, a tkiya, a trua, and a tkiya, and b'shabbos, and then they would make Shabbos. Now, Amar B'Yisrael Chanini says, Shemati says, I heard, if someone really a batlin. He waits for the last second. And even after the sixth blast, if someone wants to light then Shabbos Neiros, which he didn't do, they could light then. Madliki could light. Why? Because not yet Shabbos. Why not? The town accepted Shabbos after the sixth blast? No. The sages gave time for the shamish, the attendant of the tzibur, who he was the one that was doing the shofar blast. He has to be able to get the shofar to his house because there was a special roof in the height of the city, which in the middle was where he would blow from. Now, where's he going to put the shofar? So he had to bring it back home. So obviously, they didn't make Shabbos the moment after the sixth blast because he has to get home. So you still have a few moments to light the candles even after the sixth blast from the fact that he has to take a shofar home. On that Amalei, they said to him, no. If that would be the case, the way you're describing it, then your halacha would be based relative, which is really what this common Talmudic phrase means. It would depend how close is the shamish's house. If his house is close, that's how much a person can do malacha. If his house is further away, then he's more time to do malacha. So Elorad, they disagree. There was a discrete place where the shamish would put the shofar over there on top of that roof where he would blow. That's where he would leave the shofar. And because the reason is because you're not allowed to move on Shabbos, which it was Shabbos the moment he finished the last blast. You're not move a shofar, and not trumpets. You're not allowed to move it even in the Rosh Hashanah, because forget about carrying. It's a problem of muktzah. A shofar is muktzah, a trumpet is muktzah. And therefore, they said, no, the moment the sixth last blast is made, you cannot do malacha, you cannot light the candles. What does he do with the shofar? Doesn't he have to take it home? No, he's not taking it home. He puts it away in a discreet place because you can't move it. Forget about carrying. It's muktzah the shofar, and therefore, you can't do malacha anymore. Some ideas we spoke about in today's daf, and Shabbos Daf Lamed Hey, was a continuation of the machlekes Rabbi and Rav Yosef. We said in the previous daf, they had a machlekes regarding what's the shiur of bein hashmashos of Rabbi Yehuda, which again we said there was three different opinions. Now, Rav Yosef had the larger shiur. Rav Yosef had the smaller shiur. Rabbi had the 3/4, which was 3. Rav Yosef had the smaller shiur, which is 2/3. That's number 2. Now, we said chilufa, the opposite was bechalsa, was by the basket. That in other words, there's actually, we ended up with 3 different opinions, because even though Rabbi was the one that said 2, here he's the smaller. Rav Yosef said 3, so that's what we say is the opposite. Here he's saying 3, and here he's saying 2. And the opposite is true by Rabbah. Here he's saying 3, and here he's saying 2. Now, but ultimately, in practice, Rabbah told Abaya that actually no, this is the way it's supposed to be. Let's get this out of here, the eraser. Actually, Rabbah had said 3 is not a kli anymore, and Rabbi Yosef said that 4 is not a kli anymore. But then in practice, when Abai came to ask him with 2, he said even that is not a kli. Now, who is that like? We said that there was a Tana that we saw that holds that it's not like for example on the cruise ships of Talmudic times, the Alexandrian ones, that they said that kurayim, through kur, it's not going to be mekabel tumah because it's not a kli, and that's the same thing that we say over here. It's not going to be kli already by 2 kur. That's why he was stringent like that Tanaic opinion. Then we went back to the halacha of the previous daf regarding that we said Rabbi Yehuda, what's considered bein hashmashos is Pnei Mizrach Madimin. We said it's not really the eastern front that gets red. Yeah, you do get the rays of that, but where the actual rays, if you're looking for the sun, where you're looking, it's really in the west. And the east is just like a window where you see through, but that's why they said that if you really want to know if it's bein hashmashos, you look towards the west and you see if the sun is red over there. Then we had the second opinion we mentioned in the previous daf was Reb Nechemia. He says the bein hashmashos is a half a mil. He said, if you want to know in practice, how much is that half a mil? You go to the top of Mount Carmel, you see the sun as it's about to set, you go down, you taivel, you come back up, that's going to be exactly the amount of time of bein hashmashos. And so too, if you want to see the Be'er Shel Miriam, it is also on the top of Har Carmel. Then we spoke about, which actually the last bein hashmashos opinion we mentioned previous time, that of Rabbi Yossi, that he holds that that is keheref ayin, like the blink of an eye. That's how small the Bein Hashmashas is according to him. That we said that it starts after that of the Bein Hashmashas of Rabbi Yehuda. And that's why we said that halachic statement that was said, that you're allowed to go ahead and immerse yourself during the Bein Hashmashas of Rabbi Yehuda, because the Chiddush is, we know Rabbi Yossi is after that, but it's not even part of Rabbi Yehuda's. Rabbi Yehuda's ends, and according to him is nighttime. No, then Rabbi Yossi says, no, still not. Now actually is when Bein Hashmashas happens in that blink of an eye, and then it's going to be nighttime. Now, halacha, the Gemara brought down from Rabbi Yechanan that we're machmer like both of them. What does it mean like both of them? For Shabbos, which is by Erev Shabbos, then it's like Rabbi Yehuda, where we have to like be machmer, like there's 13 and a half minutes earlier, because that's the Bein Hashmashas earlier of Rabbi Yehuda, of Panei Mezrach Madim, and that might be Shabbos already. Now, so too of Truma to eat, or as equivalent Rashi says, Matzah Shabbos, we have to be machmer like Rabbi Yossi, that Shkia or Bein Hashmashas extends longer. It's longer, it's later than that, and therefore, let's say they can't eat Truma yet, even if it's after the Bein Hashmashas of Rabbi Yehuda. Then we spoke about the stars coming out at nighttime. 1 star is daytime, 2 stars is Bein Hashmashas, 3 stars is already nighttime, but they're more qualified. It's not small stars or large stars, it's medium-sized stars, but again, in practice, we are actually stringent, and we wait for 3 small stars, and then we consider it as nighttime. But it's really the 2 medium-sized stars. We're just not so proficient in those laws. Then we said for most people they shouldn't wait for the last second. They should light Ner Shabbos a little bit earlier because you can't tell exactly when Bein Hashmashas is. But look when it's the top of palm trees and a cloudy day. Then see if the birds are around. Then we said there's the Talmudic times of practice. They had 6 shofar blasts. They would make an Erev Shabbos. The first one would stop the people in the fields. The second one would stop the people doing work in the city. The third one was either to light the candles or to take off the tefillin, which according to that opinion, the fourth kiyah was to take off the tefillin, and then they would wait after the third one a little amount of time, enough to make your piece of salmon or whatever it is, a small piece of fish or some bread, that amount of time that you could do that before Shabbos, and then the 4th and 5th, 6th were blown together, and then it would be Shabbos. And then we said, I'll do malacha afterwards. And even for the Chazan HaKnesses, what do you mean? Doesn't he have to take back the shofar? No, because it was stayed there on the roof, and because it's going to be muktzah, a shofar, as we'll actually, that's the discussion of the next daf, if it is a shofar muktzah, but this halacha was saying trumpets are muktzah, shofar is muktzah, and he can't take it back home. No one can do malach afterwards, because else it would be nasata derech l'shiur, and it would be relative, and you can't make a relative halacha. All the gzeres chachamim were all definitive, clear-cut halachas, and therefore, once he blows the sixth blast, it's already Shabbos. If someone was too lazy, he can't light the Shabbos candles anymore. Thank you to Anytime for hosting us.